Friends, if we can wake up to the full import of a handful of European families with unlimited money and resources who looked at past oligarchies who had been public and been overthrown and said, let's go behind the scenes, let's operate through stealth, let's buy off the universities, the publishing houses, and they all wrote books, later that were basically just circulated amongst themselves bragging about this. In more modern times, Men in Power is a political retrospective, 1992. Helmut Schmidt, former German chancellor, admits the whole thing. Carol Quigley, Georgetown political science professor, Bill Clinton's mentor, allowed into the State Department CIA archives to only print 1,000 copies so that CIA and State Department folks could understand what they were doing. Well, how are we for communists, but we fund them? How are we against fascists, but we fund them? And he explains it all because, their operatives have to understand. And then, of course, the plates got out. It got republished. People didn't care what he said. Then he died, and it's admittedly written by him. And you read it, and it's like you're reading what's happening today. And here's the deal. They believe the world belongs to them, just like our ancestors came to America. It's standard procedure, actually, and said, well, let's just kill all the natives. Let's just kill them. Let's just take their land. It took about 100 years to really demonize them. At first, it didn't work like that. It was just people. But then other native groups would come say, help us wipe out this group. Oh, the natives were just as bad as the white people. It's humans, folks. But they, there's British manuals that are in the National Archives for the French and Indian War about open the sores, have the doctor or the surgeon, two different things, open the sores of your men that have the pustules of the pox. Spread it liberally upon the blanket. Make sure that within 1 day it works best to deliver it to the Indians. Biological warfare. And so the globalist, look at every culture. The Israelites, ordered, go in, kill everybody, take the land. Don't even keep their animals. Kill their animals as well. Every culture, the Romans would go in, wipe out entire groups. This is standard procedure. But they're just getting us ready for that great point. Alan Watt, how close are we until the globalists go ahead and start really wiping folks out in mass? Or do they want to first dehumanize us and toy with us a bit more and just watch us die of the cancers and the diabetes and the GMO? Because in most of their documents, as you know, they talk about once the real planetary control system's in place, they want to go ahead and devastate 1 billion and then get everybody scared. We'll all run to their arms and keep us safe from the terrorists or keep us safe from the mutations. And we'll take care of you, honey. And then they killed 2 billion. And now we're down to 6 billion. Then they wipe out another 2 billion. They more and more, they're not just saying they want to kill 80% as the UN documents, and that's a standard number. Now they're having debates about, should we kill all humans? Are humans a parasite disease? Alan Watt, what is their master plan? In like 5 minutes, what are they planning to do from your research?
Well, first just touch on what they've already done. And since the 50s, they've given us the cancer vaccines. They've given us GMO food. We've had pesticides from military-industrial waste put on as a fertilizer since World War II. Cancer is going to kill everybody that's alive today. So they have been killing us off on quite a good hop, actually, quite a good clip since the 50s. But it's not enough. It's not fast enough now. But abortion, of course, is ratcheted up too. I noticed even in today's paper, they say that the census in the U.S. says that there are far fewer births now in America than there ever had before, and that'll get worse as the economy goes down the hill. So
that's right. The entire West is dying. Replacement rate of 1.3. For every 2 adults, 1.3. And of course, it'll be impossible now to pay for the baby boomers. That was designed that way, so they're going to have to be killed.
Yes, and what they've also said in Britain and the Canada and the U.S. at the same time, by the way, because Harper did the same thing in Canada. He's trying to bring more young foreigners in to replace the people who are dying off. Healthy young people who can, again, pay off the national debt. That's the excuse for it. But so that they accomplish a whole bunch of things. They deculturalize the people, but by bringing in the most diverse cultures en masse, large groups who will not assimilate.
And then you make them the cops and the CPS workers. I've had members of British Parliament on. Most of the CPS there are Eastern Europeans who came from Soviet terror, and they can't speak English, and they take your kid and billy club you. It's just siege forces of foreigners, yes.
Yes, and Tony Blair's, the assistant prime minister to Tony Blair came out and said that their orders were to, again, open the floodgates to immigration, again, from those diverse cultures, to eradicate the last vestiges of British culture. It must be gone forever. So totally destroy the culture. The people who come in have no loyalty to the country. They don't know what democracy or republicanism even means, don't care to know. They're being well paid for, taking over. But as I say, it's not fast enough a kill. The next part is the rapid de-urbanization into the major cities. That all their major books have said this would be the final part. And then once in there, they'll have you on extreme rationing for food. The UN has said that too, by the way, when they set up the UN's Department of Agriculture.
Food is a weapon. Henry Kissinger's Memorandum 200,
Yep.
the 96 UN food meeting, Beijing. We will use it as a weapon. We're going to kill you. Post-industrial, we are murderers, but we're liberal, so it's cute and funny.
That's right. And then, of course, once you're crammed together and you're on a poor diet, you're wide open to all infections, and then they will release the proper infections in the right places at the right time. And again, it'll be made to sound quite natural. Oh, it's just this and it's that by the media. It's as poor.
Well, they're already pre-programming, you call it predictive programming, all these shows on history, discovery, books, end caps at grocery stores. The world after man, the end of humanity. Earth is going to throw us off. Super plagues are coming because we're overpopulated. Then you have all the documents they're creating it. I mean, it's now been released that we have the mainline document here that openly the USDA is funding corn that sterilizes you, rice that sterilizes you. But then, and I've got all the links up on Infowars.com. And then meanwhile, the ones they've already made do this. They're already doing it.
They've been sterilizing us gradually from 1950 onwards via the polio vaccine and others as well. And as you say, I mean, Rockefeller's Golden Rice Project for the third world countries, that's the side effect of it. It sterilizes the men. They've known that for years, and they promote that through the United Nations. So we're really getting hit hard with it. They don't want us to live very long. And they've got their timetables, too. They want us to be vastly reduced by the year 2030. And then between 30 and 50, they'll bring in their new super city states across the world, the end of nations, just a few very high-tech super cities where those who are deemed worthy to come through will live, who will be very valuable to their system or their city-state. Scientific elite, technocrats, that kind of thing. They don't need the old-type manual labor, the semi-skilled workers, and they don't need...
you just hit on something key, and I want to expand on that. If you actually read their documents, as you've done, but for folks that want to go look into this, they have 10 regions, but they destroy the nation state. They want it all weak with just global corporate rules within heavily armed city-states with their own private mercenary military. So they're actually going back to the feudal system. It's not really one big loving globe. It's city-states together waging war against the barbarian populations as they see us. Basically, it's the elite telling us through the Sean Connery film, Zardoz.
That's right. Zardoz was a great wake-up, and most folk missed what it meant. But it was the whole eugenics plan right there. And again, a super elite who would come through and live in a big shielded bubble-type city, force fields, live forever. Because David Suzuki in Canada said a few years ago on CBC television...
Called us maggots.
Yeah, he said now we can make a person live for 500 years if we so wish. And he's a geneticist as well, as a human hater.
Oh, yeah, they've already found all the gene triggers. They're not giving it to us. They could give us extended life. We could have off-world colonies, but we don't get any of that. We get to be exterminated like cockroaches, and these people get to go onto the stars, and the yuppies love it.
Yes, and also, I mean, I've read the articles and the books by the people like Charles Galton, Darwin, and they truly believe in Darwinism. They believe, and they always give you the same analogies of the bacteria working on the soil. In comes a fungus after that and dies away, preparing the soil for the acorn to grow. What they're saying is, you see, we, the working type people, the average people in the middle classes, are all preparing the soil for them, for the oak tree to go on.
We're the cocoon, and that's what all their writers and culture makers, like Arthur C. Clarke, tell us. On the mission, we're going to have to decide who's purified, and yes, the elite's going to have to fight the computer, their own creation as well, to decide who is reborn into the Luciferian Superman.
Yes, and also, too, they're quite... they've been testing clones for many, many years in secret bases, and islands, too, of course, offshore. And they can literally create their new types of slaves, exactly like Huxley said in Brave New World. And so there's no problem about that.
By the way, that's admitted. Washington Post 7 years ago had a little footnote about Argentina with part human, part chimpanzees in U.S. government labs, but you're not allowed to see them. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, so they're all set to do that. So our only function right now is to pay taxes, provide the troops for finishing off the countries that won't go under and join the system. And that's it. Our job is literally done. They've taken away the industry. They don't need us anymore. And they're already, again, as you well know, they're putting in the rewelding projects. They're putting in Pumas into Florida and stuff like this.
And they write books. I mean, take Bill Joy, co-owner of Sun Microsystems. He writes in '99, April issue Wired magazine. He said, I went to a meeting, 200 computer company owners, and we talked about, do we kill everybody? And he wrote an article saying, we're discussing and we're going to entertain you and let you hurt the earth, or we're going to kill you. And the decision is kill you. And the yuppies are like, oh, that's good. You know what I like? I like how the yuppies all say, yeah, well, there are too many people. Like they're part of the elite, Alan. Like they're not being targeted.
They've watched so many science fiction movies down through their lifetime that they really do believe, yeah, I know all this stuff, therefore I'm somehow in the right club. No, knowing about it doesn't mean you're in the right club at all. These guys know who they want. They selected the families many years ago who will come through this. And they don't need the rest of us at all. We're expendable, completely expendable. Yeah.
And, you know, my dad was approached because he was top of his class by UT when he was a junior in high school. They took 160 of them in there, and then they took a few of the smartest, I think he said 6 of them aside, and openly said, we're setting up world government. Eugenics is good. Hitler had the wrong idea. He only went after certain groups. We're going after everybody. And my dad was creeped out by it. And you know, got out of the program. But that goes on at every university. And they just go around picking through the people they want to be their minions, and all the rest of us are scheduled to be killed.
Yes, and again, Bertrand-Russell did a very good article on that. He said that he says we give scholarships to the brighter ones who bring them into the Ivy League universities. And if they fulfill certain conditions, like giving up their family, forgetting their past, and joining the club, then they would be very useful. He said if they will not give up their families, if they still want to be attached to the lower class they came from, then we must get rid of them. And he said those who are very intelligent and who will not join us are a problem. Therefore, they must be eradicated or eliminated. Yeah.
And that's why the police openly are taught the Founding Fathers are bad, liberty is bad, and they won't hire police with over 100 IQ. That's now confirmed. That's
anyone today, Alex, anyone who has an ability to communicate what is happening to the public, we're down on every single list for first collection when it comes along. We're all down on the list. So they all have them. Yeah, all countries have them. Yeah.
And through compartmentalization, they take the funny thing is we're trying to save the dumbed down, brutish people, but they are the attack dogs of the people that are soft killing them. And they love it.
Most people will never believe that other human beings cold-bloodedly sit down at tables and draft up plans on how to kill them. They cannot believe that. They think that's something from the past, some ancient past somewhere. They think that Hitler or Stalin were aberrants. They don't realize, no, that the real aberrants are picked on every generation to work in the big think tanks and for government to work on these very problems. And they're just like farmers. They look at the farm, and if the cattle aren't producing, you don't keep feeding them like pets. You kill them. You kill them off. And literally, that's how they describe the public. They're the farmers, we're the cattle, and we're not producing. There's no more purpose for us.
And this is their philosophy, thousands of books, statements, all admitted, all out in the open. Rockefeller Foundation about how they're going to sterilize us, 1966, all being done, all happening. But the average cop listening says, I don't care. I decide to not believe this. I like my petty power. Alex Jones is bad. Alan Watt is bad. He's saying my government isn't good. And for that petty power, they will sell themselves and their whole family right into death. But then they're not the bad guys compared to the yuppies.
Yeah. And you also have